Welcome back to another episode of Tara's Voice. Interesting people, irrelevant conversations. And this is embarrassing because Lainie and I actually have recorded her podcast episode and then I lost it. It disappeared. So we're back. I have no idea what her question was last time. So we're just gonna spin and get a new one. I don't remember what it was. I know we had a great conversation, guys. It was the best one we ever did. um, But but this is the thing. I think years ago I would have had a heart attack and a half and been like, "Oh my gosh, how unprofessional! I cannot believe I lost this." And I did have a slight heart attack. Um, but this is also the benefit of just getting old. I'm like, well, nothing I can do about it. I can't find it. I looked
Yeah,
for
just
it.
do it
So we
again.
redo it. So we're
It'll
going
be
to redo
better.
our episode. So let me introduce you since you don't know her since I lost her last episode. But Lainey calls herself the gift sorceress. She actually is the owner of Veruca Style. She is a girl mom. She's got a 9-year-old. I met her initially because she has this beautiful gift boutique and Veruca Style, which you guys that will be in the show notes and everything. But she does a lot of different things outside of getting really cool, unusual gifts for her boutique. She's a singer, she's a photographer, she does some graphic and web design, she makes jewelries, and she works her day job kind of like in an accounts payable, but she's actually back in school getting a license for mental health and therapy and counseling and stuff like that. So it's gonna be really cool to see like where she goes. We actually met through Moms of Business, which I think my second guest was the founder of Moms of Business, Sarah Williams. So you guys got to meet her. Um,
And
who's
side
my
note,
first
I'm in
and
the
second
episode
guest.
quietly
Yeah.
hiding in the background.
And it was funny because these two were in Atlantic City together. I remember. And it was like my first or second, maybe my second, I don't remember. She was my first or second guest. And you guys were literally like partying it up in Atlantic City. Yeah. And you were in the hotel room. So
Mom's
that's
gone wild.
I'm like, okay, you need to come on. So we're going to share our screen and kind of see what our random question is. Let me go ahead and pull that up. I did not have that pulled up ahead of time. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll spin the wheel since we have no idea what it was last time. We're just going to find a new one. So we're going to go ahead. We'll see if this is someone's question that was
No
given
whammy, no
to
whammy, no
us.
whammy.
And if you have a question that you want to put on the wheel, let me know what it is. We need some new questions. Okay. This is Yvonne McHugh. She's actually given us some really great questions. She said, "What is the worst experience that had the greatest impact on your life?" The
Huh.
worst experience
Whoa.
that had the greatest impact,
This is a
right?
that's a juicy question.
Yeah. I think order of
Super
worst. I'm like,
juicy.
"Ooh." Okay, because the worst is like, what's the worst, right? What would you say?
Hmm. 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 Let's go career wise. Let's do that. Yeah. That's. You know what? I got it. All right. I got it.
Okay.
I'll start career wise because I had a whole nother life before the life that I'm living right now. Anytime I meet new people, it's like I've lived like 4 lives by now, so I have like 4 versions of myself I could talk to you about. Before any of this, before the boutique, I worked in the world of jewelry in fashion for like 15 years. And it was an accidental career. I didn't go to school for this. I didn't go to FIT. I didn't do any of that. And life number 2 after, I grew up and everything, got married young, moved away, got divorced, moved home. I fell into a job that opened the doors to the jewelry industry for me. I was working for a diamond company. It was also where I met the father of my daughter. So there's a lot going on back then, who I didn't know would become that person, but we were coworkers first. And that trajectory put me on the road to becoming a director of wholesale sales for a few jewelry brands. And I specified in jewelry brands. One of them is a famous line that you can find now in Neiman Marcus and Nordstrom. and loved it. It was such a wonderful experience. And coming off the high of having that wonderful experience many years down the road, building my career, my portfolio, uh, making this brand like the best it could be, I decided to leave for more money. And I worked for another company that just ended up making me hate the industry.
Mm.
Long story short, it was 2 years of my life. It was the longest 2 years of my life. I tried everything I could to make things work there and didn't. But um, the reason it had the biggest impact of my life was that I was so done with the industry. I was so done with working for people that it was the impetus for me opening my boutique. It was, I'm leaving this. We had just bought a house when I decided to leave this job. I had just had my daughter. She was about like 2 years old. So to jump into retail, like owning a brick and mortar, was scary, scary, scary. But I don't think I would have ever had the push if it wasn't for having that terrible experience of working with a company that just great. It looked great on paper. I was getting paid, but I sacrificed every hour. I didn't. I had a young one at home, and I wasn't home. I was worn out. The stress was taking a toll on my health. Um, Took a toll on my relationship. Took a toll on everything. And I was, trying to give the same amount of energy and not reaping the same rewards that I had done previously, and it was just a whole mess of reasons why that wasn't coming together.
So did you
Um,
ever deal with, like, struggling with regretting leaving that first job? Because it sounds like you kind of really loved this first job and then are like, "Okay, I'm gonna get more money," which, makes sense, right? We all wanna kind of
mhm,
move up.
mhm.
But was there a season and then that was a really hard regret of like, "Oh my gosh, why did I do this?" Or do you think you never really dealt with that?
I always had a firm belief in not having regrets. Like I chose this, I wanted this, I went through it, wasn't great, but I don't regret making that decision. And that rang true here. Like I knew that it was time for me to move on from that last position, and this was my opportunity, I thought, to grow into something much bigger, have way more responsibility, and it didn't really work out that way. The pay again was super attractive, and but it still wasn't worth me just kind of like fizzing out essentially, which is what happened because things were just not aligning. The partnership between me and other employees wasn't there. I didn't have a good team. I didn't have support. Um, I did work under a license, and that part, under a famous designer, we were the license, and that person was a doll, and kind of saved the experience a little bit. But every other day that I was in the office, I was just miserable.
Oh,
Traveling to
it's
work, miserable.
hard.
Like I was done, and I
Well,
felt it.
and they talk about, like, I don't know what it is, if it's a third or whatever of your life you spend at work. So if you hate where you are and
Hmm.
it's a toxic environment, that's really tough. I think,
Hmm.
there's an interesting study that says that people will stay in a job where they're paid less, but they feel valued and appreciated versus being in a job where they're paid more, but they don't feel valued and appreciated. And I
100.
think that's, like, such a simple thing for companies to grasp, and they don't,
They don't.
right? Like,
They just
it
they
takes
have a very poor perception of what it really means to cherish your employee or to make them feel appreciated.
and it
It's
takes so much more money to find a new employee and bring that person on, and
amazing.
yet, if they would just create a culture of, like, appreciation and value where people don't wanna leave even if you paid them less, right? It's so to me, that's like what do businesses wanna do, right? They all wanna save money. So here, literally, the research is saying you can pay your employees less if you give them a really good, quality experience. That's just such a if you have a business, listen up, like, right? So,
Totally.
I guess the other thing is this is a really good example of I don't know. I grew up, and I don't know how I was with growing up, but I grew up with a family that was very much like it was a wrong choice. It was a good choice or it was a bad choice. It was a right choice or it was a wrong choice. And that became like a very stressful of like, oh my gosh, I have to make the right choice. And I remember I met Corey Michelle, who's also one of my first guests on here, and she really talks about that there's really no right or wrong choice. It's just a choice. And it
Mhm.
leads you in a direction. And sometimes you go, you know what? I think I want to go in a different direction. And then you just make another choice. And then
That's
you
it.
take a few steps that way and you make another choice. And that is just, they're not good or bad. It's just all choices, you know, you can always make a different choice. And each choice leads you to a different place, which then you get to choose again. Right. And so this is a really good example of that, of saying,
Mhm.
like, okay, I could look at this job and be like, this is my biggest regret, or, well, this was a choice. And then it allowed me to pivot into owning my own boutique. Right.
Mhm. And that's what I was grateful for. Like it I had already started Veruca Style, and I don't count the anniversary of when I started that business. It was a side hustle, true to its word. Like I had a website only. I carried a few lines. I originally was supposed to only be jewelry. Um, and I maintained it, and I started growing it. Like I kind of had the feeling like this is gonna become something else. And I got super passionate about it, and it was the thing that gave me something to look forward to when I got home, or would cheer me up when things were getting really sour at work. Um, so then, when it came time to it, it was like a mutual split where it was like they were trying to lay off people, and I went into the president's office and it was like, I'm ready to go. I don't want to be
Pick
here anymore.
me, pick
I
me.
I was like, I'm cool. We're going. We know this isn't working, and I minced no words because at that point in my career, I didn't give two shits
Yeah.
about how anybody else felt. Like I was done. I was totally done. Everyone at home was on board with that, knew how I felt. Um, and I think it gave me the drive I would not have had I been happy at my job. I wouldn't have started my own company.
Mm.
That needed to happen for me to also have the cojones to like dive into being a business owner
So this is
and
interesting.
trusting myself.
So I'm curious. So you have this company, you have Veruca Style. I actually have one of the mugs that Lainie has that she sells. It says on one side, it says, I'm not a control freak, but, and then you turn it around and it says, I should have brought it actually on for our conversation. On the back, it says, can I show you the right way to do that? And I'm like, that
100%.
is basically my life. I love that mug. It's like my favorite at all. I'm sure everybody else doesn't, but I love it. But now you're going and you're getting a degree to become a counselor, which is like a
Mhm.
huge shift out of not just out of the industry, out of fashion and all of that, but also out of owning a store. So how did you end up there from being a boutique owner?
So I opened my boutique in 2018. So it was about like 6 months. It was very fast. Or 7 months after I had decided to leave this company, and we had just moved to a new town. We just bought a home, and I was super passionate about trying to grow some deep roots in the town. And I felt, what a better way to do that than to like open a gift shop. And by this time, my concept of what the store would be had changed as well. Not leaving the whole concept of jewelry and focusing on gifts. I wanted something that was fun and funny, that I feel represented myself. Um, and found a space, locked it down, jumped in, and went guns blazing. I was
Wow.
doing some freelance work on the side just to help cover some of the bills at the time, and COVID completely derailed me. It
Mm.
just was what it was. I still have the company, but I ended up closing my brick and mortar, and now I am exclusively online again, having to pivot through not just COVID, but stuff that had happened in the store itself because the space had his its issues, and not being able to find another space that I could just jump
Didn't you
into
have like
easily.
a flood or something?
Hmm. And
Yeah.
it was
I remember that because that was, like, right around the time I first met you. You were, like, dealing with this crazy flood.
Mhm. Uh, a breakup, a flood,
Oh my gosh.
and COVID at the exact same time. The relationship soured, the store. I don't know if anybody remembers, but there was the Christmas of 2020. Yep. And the evening of Christmas Day, there was some crazy massive storm that had hit Monmouth County in New Jersey, and serious wind gusts. Probably it was just kind of a nightmare storm for, especially for
Hmm.
Christmas Day Eve. I went into the store prepared to open on the 26th to handle returns or anything like that. And based on the even the year before, it was like, oh, people might show up and take care of some stuff. Like at this point, stores were I was already back in the store, even though it was still like crazy mask and all of that stuff going on, still going. Um, I walked to the door and the windows all had just beads of water dripping down. And what happened was this was a my part of the building was like kind of strip mall style, or I wouldn't say strip mall, but like, on a main street. This building had either nothing above it, or at one little segment of the building had apartments upstairs, just a second floor. The roof had ripped off like a can of tuna above the apartment
What?
that was above mine. And the poor woman and her two kids that lived upstairs above me ruined everything in that living room and the bedroom. And all that water that came into her um, apartment went right through into mine. So
Oh
the
my
whole, like,
gosh.
one wall of my store took on so much water. There was water everywhere. Um, Anything that was on that side of the store was damaged.
Destroyed,
Um,
yeah.
but then the humidity, like just all this like water and everything everywhere. I had that drop ceiling that has that like
The
tiny
popcorn kinda
drop.
stuff?
Yeah, it's like it almost looks like a board.
Mhm.
That stuff dissolves in water instantly. And so it ate up the ceiling was gone. I just
Oh
saw
my
through
god.
that. It was a nightmare. And then it had sat like that for a few hours after, because I'm here, we're all off for Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. And I come home. I mean, I come back to the store and I just see this nightmare and it smells bad. And I'm just like devastated.
Wow.
But I was at a point in my life at that very moment where I was in the biggest F it moment of my life. I was just like, you know what? I was already having some issues with the
Wow.
landlord. I knew that that building had issues already. Already. So I was like, yeah, everything is good. Pack it up. Last month rent paid. I'm out.
Oh my
Like, I
gosh.
walked up to the guy, took them a week to even come to see what happened. And I was like, huh, yeah, they don't care. I'm done.
I'm out. I'm out. And
Yeah.
that's when you went all online.
Yep. I
Yeah.
I I really
Okay.
committed to the online thing, but also doing vendor shows, which I was doing really well with. So, and that really holds me down, and it fills my cup of interacting with people in person, because that's why I opened the brick and mortar, and I love that part of it.
Yeah. I remember you were talking about that you really like the face to face. I mean, COVID was so weird, I think, for so many businesses because either it like pivoted a business where then they really thrived or it tanked it. Like there didn't seem to be a lot of in the middle, right? Like you
Mhm.
either like for me, I went all online and my business did really well and I've stayed online and I really love that. But other businesses, it was like they just that was it. That was the nail in the coffin. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much money people invest when they open a brick and mortar business. I remember so I had my first business in direct sales, my second business when I started making cancer fun and I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know anything, right? So I was like, let me go. I went to the Small Business Development Center and I took a class on like how to do like your books, your profit and loss statements, how to register, like what kind of corporation are you, all this kind of thing. And I'm sitting there with these people who are opening businesses and the one that struck out to me, there was this woman who had $200,000 that she had taken out against her home to start her business. And it was in a strip mall, and it was like a kids play. It wasn't a nursery school. It was like a kids play place where like they would host birthday parties or moms could come in and have the kids play. And this was like 2018 maybe.
Mm.
So I always wonder, like, I wonder what happened to that business, because obviously during COVID, no one was putting their kids in like a ball pit, right? Like,
Mhm.
how did, if that ever survived? I have no idea what the business was or anything, but I thought, oh my gosh, I would be terrified to take a $200,000, not guaranteed loan out of my house. And people don't realize the amount of money that people put into small businesses, which is also just on my little soapbox of like why you should support local small businesses and that local coffee shop
They
and
need it.
that local boutique,
100%.
because they're putting their whole livelihood
Mhm.
out there. We just had lunch actually. We were up in Boston. I was up in Boston for a conference, and we went to
Ooh.
this little diner. It was a diner in Boston, not from Jersey. So as soon as I saw diner, I was like, let's check this out. It actually was fantastic. The food was great. I wish I knew the name because I would plug them right now, but they had like their like on the wall they had their journey of how like this guy started and like started his, and it became like a family restaurant, and they had a fire, and the restaurant like burned to the ground, and it was
Mm.
their whole family's like restaurant. And so they have still the sign from outside that has some
Oh,
fire damage on it, and they have it
mm.
hanging inside. And they talked about how like the whole community came and supported them and everything. But I just remember reading this thinking like, oh my God, can you imagine like your whole business, everything, and you're just watching it? I mean, it's like people who just went through the California fires, like when you just lose everything, how devastating that was. I had a girl on my team years ago in Colorado. She had survived a tornado.
Oh.
And she said, and I never forgot this. She said, when people would say, and when I say survived a tornado, like she was like hiding in like a kitchen, like under like a cabinet with her daughter, like as the house was falling down around them. Like she lost everything, like their neighbor's son died, like,
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
like one of these horrific tornadoes. I don't know if she was from Kansas. I don't remember. But she was like, I was literally like on top of my child, like, hovered like a mother crouched over holding my child, like as we were like sitting there watching the house and the house being blown apart, right? And so she always said when people would say like, oh my gosh, my I know it's such a mess in here, it looks like a tornado went through it. She was like, it was such a like triggering statement. She's like, because people say that so flippantly, and we
Get
have
it.
lived through I actually had a tornado go through my house. And I always like, I've always remembered that when people say like, "Oh yeah, it looks like a tornado went through here," like how traumatic something like that is. And I think, even just going in and seeing your business and walking in and seeing it flooded, like your business is your baby. And a lot of
Yeah,
people, this is it's like
it is your
watching the
baby.
destruction.
You will
Yeah.
mourn it like a human. It was devastating, but
Yeah.
I was in such a crazy headspace that I was like, pivot, like just hardcore.
But maybe
I
that was good, right? Like maybe it's good that your life was kind of in a shit show place because it gave you the gumption to be like, okay, I'm just going to pivot and go
next.
online. Right. Yeah.
100%. And I mean, that gets to how I got to even where I'm at now, because that began the slope of me, going back to getting a day job and not loving it, like I'm here because, certain things fell into place and now I'm in finance, which is kind of a funny thing because my parents and my mother's sister were in banking and finance, me growing up. And it's
Oh,
like the
wow.
joke of like, I'm never going to do that. And then they had the last laugh because here
Oh
I
my gosh. I always say whatever I say I'm never going to do ends up happening. Like when I
am.
got married, I was never going to move to Colorado. Then I was never going to I was never going to stay in Colorado. Then I was never going to go back to New Jersey. I was never going to get divorced. So I've been saying I'm never going to win the lottery. That's my new thing,
100%.
right?
I gotta start doing that. That's never gonna
Never
happen to
going to
me.
happen because it's always like don't say the never, right?
Mhm.
I was never going to stay in Jersey after my daughter turned 18, and that was sure enough never going to happen. So yeah, that never statement is like it's almost like it's like a spell. It's like this powerful statement that whatever we say we're never going to do seems to find us.
Oh, it's
I don't
gonna
know what
find its
that
way.
is, right? So what made you want to go into counseling though? That's like not banking.
That's I think more that's I want to say, so based on like the first part of my story, me getting married, moving away, I did that as a junior in college. Ended up never finishing my degree. And I had 120 credits of college work after everything was said and done. This was back in 2000, 2001, where if you're transferring your credits school to school, it doesn't carry the way that they carry now, which I've discovered because I didn't know. But it was a problem for me to move around in the military as a military wife, taking these credits with me everywhere and not things not if you go to one school, it doesn't have the same value. It doesn't equal the curriculum that they might have. So you're losing out on credits the more you're
Okay.
switching schools because not every school is built the same. And when I moved back home, I was going to give it the last hurrah, and then came a job that I couldn't pass up, and I really just got like gun ho about work, and a beautiful career happened after that. So I left it behind. But me now working these day jobs, it was always an interest of me, psychology, having not only personally gone through some things that I had a lot of questions about and dug deep into. I went to therapy through all of that, and it was a game changer for me to go through therapy. So it was um, when I started to share how much research I had actually done on certain things, um, with other people who were going through similar things like I had gone through, I realized, like, wow, I'm really connected to this. I'm really interested in this. This really fascinates me. But not only that, the idea of helping other people through um, what I went through, and not feeling alone, or not feeling like they have resources, or not even or being just a person who could share resources was important to me. So I looked into the program of trying to finish my bachelor's, and doing a whole new major in psychology. And I found a school who has a great program online, and I jumped into it. And it's been really good. Like, I'm almost done.
Ah, good for
and
you.
then I and then
Career
I have to
number
do the math.
4.
Yeah. And then I have to do the masters, but
Yeah.
I'm so into it. And I feel like I'll finally be in a place where it's like I have this career again that means something to me, that I'm passionate about, and it's a subject matter that's really important to me, and can carry me through the rest of my working years. Um, so
Well, when you
it
think about
is
stable
a pivot.
careers, if you work in the mental health field, I feel like that has got to be one of the most stable careers right now because the world is only getting more insane.
Hmm.
Right? Like, we are
Hmm.
only getting more anxiety, more depressed, more,
Hmm.
like, that's not going anywhere. If
Yeah,
anything, I feel like it's growing to the point where everybody needs a therapist. Like,
yeah,
everyone needs
and
a
I feel like
therapist.
there's like other things too, like deeper issues that are becoming more prevalent and more common, and I still hear a lot of people going, that's not, this, or that's not happening as much as people claim. I don't agree.
Well, I
I
mean, look at
really
the
don't
stats.
agree.
You have, what is it? 1 in 4 women is a victim of domestic violence. I
Hmm.
think it's like 1 in 4 is a victim of sexual assault. Like, they say, if you're by the time you're in college, 1 in 4 women has been raped. I
Right.
mean, you look at the number of children who are molested. You look at, I mean, so yeah, I don't think, I think that anybody who says, you don't need that. Even just cancer, it's 1 out of 2 adults will have cancer. So even if you're not the one who has cancer, you have somebody in your life who does.
Hmm.
And that alone is a traumatic diagnosis, even if the person lives, right? Like,
Hmm.
going through that. So, one of the things I always say is you cannot get through life unscathed. Like, when people use this, why me, why me, why me? I'm like, why not you? First of all,
Right.
why are you a narcissist? Why not you? Why should somebody else have it and you don't?
Correct.
Right?
Right.
But, like, what makes you think you're not going to have to deal with crap? Like, all of us are going to at some point, at something, right? And I think this is one of the reasons why the pandemic really screwed so many people over because,
Oh.
you know, and I think one of the reasons that I did well in the pandemic was it was not the first time my life was turned upside down.
Hmm.
And I think the people who struggled the most, this kind of reminds me of what you're saying, is when you walked into the store and you saw it and you were like, well, I was just in a place in my life where I was like, all right, just fuck it. I'm going to, pivot.
Mm-hmm.
When you've had a really easy life, when you've had nothing's ever been turned upside down, the rug's never been pulled out from underneath you. Those are the people I think who struggled the most
Oh, we've
because
had
it
this
was like,
conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't know how to cope. They were
No,
like, oh my God, the life that I knew that I've always pictured was just gone. And they did not know how to pivot and
and
pick
you're
themselves
not
back up.
prepared for it.
And so
Yep.
this is where, like, I think it's, you gotta struggle a little bit. Like you gotta, I mean, my soapbox is about resiliency, right? Like you gotta struggle a little
Mine
bit.
too.
You
And
gotta
I
be
think
able
that's
to
why
pick
I
yourself
pivot
up.
so easily, because I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
screw it. Like, forget it. But
Yeah.
I think the reason we were having this conversation, I remember this, is because we were talking about our daughters and teaching
Yeah.
them resilience. It's like you want to soften the blow of them falling sometimes, but then you realize the importance of them kind of figuring it out and hardening them just a little bit, because they do have to feel life. Like there's going to
Yeah.
be a point in time where they're going to feel it. So either
This
they're ready for
gentle
that.
parenting, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a parenting expert and I am certainly not, but this gentle parenting I think is crap. I mean, I just and I look at my daughter and I think, she's definitely got stuff. But let me tell you, that kid's resilient. I mean, we talked about this with your daughter. Like, she is resilient. And I think it's because she had so much crap she had to go through. And not
Mm,
that you want your kid to go through that, right? Like, obviously,
no,
you want to make it easy for them and you want them to have everything be
correct.
perfect. Um, but even just with her, with some of her friends going off to college, we were talking about this. Like, they are struggling, these kids.
Hmm.
And I don't know. It'll
Hmm.
be interesting to see the studies that they do on this generation because really, there's a lot of talk about the the people who are in these teenagers now and in their 20s now and they all have mental health issues and they're all struggling and they all um I would say I'm going to say they're struggling, right? And but
Yeah.
then I look at it and I'm like, well, that's our fault because we're the parents. We're the ones who raised them. So, while we're pointing the finger at like what's wrong with these kids, I think we need to be looking at ourselves and being like, well, what's wrong with
How
us?
did we prepare them for
Right.
this? Like, agreed.
Right. It's kind of like I don't know if it was a TikTok or a video. It was this kid who um I guess he had participated in something in school and they all got a participation trophy. And on his way out of the school, he threw it in the garbage. And the parent was like, "Why are you throwing that away?" And he goes, "Because I lost." And it
Mm,
was going around social media as like, what an ungrateful kid. And I was like, actually, that's going to be a really strong kid because the research does show that these everybody wins, everybody gets a trophy actually destroys kids' self esteem because they know they lost, right? They know that. And like, it doesn't make them feel good that you're like, no, it's okay that you're a loser. We're still going to give you a trophy. Like, it's okay to lose a little bit and then be like, hey, I'm going to come back and be a winner, right?
1,000,000%.
And so this kid who's wiser than the parents is taking
Hmm.
his participation trophy and like,
It's like,
I lost, buddy. Like, I don't need to keep a trophy to remind me that I lost, right? And I thought, oh, that's so funny. I don't see that as ungrateful at all. I see that as like that kid's going places. I
like
want to
he,
follow that kid.
right. He's competitive. He wants to
Yeah.
compete and he wants to do what it's going to take. And I'm sure he's going to drive himself there.
Yeah, and
There
he
you
doesn't wanna
go.
be coddled and lied to
No.
and, whatever. Yeah. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how our kids
Hmm.
raise their kids. Like my daughter, I
Hmm.
think we were talking about this. My daughter says, "Oh yeah, we'll never let our kids on social media. We realize how bad social media is and how it's giving everybody anxiety and depression." And I'm like, "Well, if you know that, then why do you spend so much time on it?" And she's like, "Well, I'm not willing to give it up.
I'm an
I'm just
adult
not gonna let
now.
my house." But it's the only do you do this with your daughter? It's the only way I tell everybody, it's the only way we communicate now. So she sends me a TikTok and then I send her a TikTok. And then she sends me a TikTok and
Oh
then I
my
send
God.
her one. And it's literally how we communicate. And she recently sent me, and it was a meme with this kid making this like weird face. And it was like the face I make when my parent complains about my like either personality or attitude, but they're forgetting, like, I got it from them or
Got him
something
from
like that.
I've seen this.
Um, yeah, and like, I'll know what's going on in her life based on the TikToks that she sends.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
funny.
And so this is how we communicate.
Huh.
Like how she's feeling about school, how she's feeling about me, how she's feeling about life. It's just all. So I wake up in the this is so sad. I can't believe I'm admitting this. I wake up in the morning and that's the first thing I do. I'm like, did I get a TikTok from M? Like, what did she send me overnight? Right.
Huh?
And then of course I send her ones back of like how you shouldn't be on TikTok. Meanwhile, I found it on TikTok, right? So I see the half the page. And how like drinking energy drinks are going to like kill your
Ooh,
heart, right?
ooh, I
Um,
learned that lesson in college. Oh my god.
And then I sent her ones about like there's a TikTok. Have you seen this one? It's a TikTok. This woman has this sad looking frog stuffed animal and she brings it. Oh my God, it's the best. She brings it places and it's like just you don't see her. You just see this sad frog stuffed animal and it'll be like on the swing looking sad. It's got like a little sad face. Or it'll be like sitting against the bench looking sad. And all it says over it is like how I feel when I miss my daughter. And
Oh
I
no.
send this to her on a regular
You
basis.
just spam her with it. Yeah, I was just gonna say, just keep spamming her with it. It's like,
And she's like, "Mom." Yeah. And then I saw one that made me cry. I just did this actually, I just shared this on
oof.
another podcast episode, so I'll share it again because it still has me crying. It was a mom, it was a picture with the daughter, and she said, when you realize that the person you rate the one person you can't live without, you raise to be independent to live without you. And I'm
Oh
like
no, I
bursting
wasn't
in
ready for that. Don't
tears.
send me
I
it. Don't send it
know.
to me. No, don't send it to me. I'll start sobbing.
I'm like, and so I actually this morning I went to the lab. I had to go get lab work done. And thank you, pre-menopause crap. So we'll
Oh,
see in a few weeks, like how bad it is, right? So I had to go get lab work. And this woman is there and she has like a 4-year-old in a stroller. And I'm just watching this 4-year-old and I'm watching this mom and I'm secretly super jealous. And I'm like, oh, I just want to put my daughter back in a stroller and be her best friend again. That's what I
yeah.
like, and you just know that mom is tired, right? That mom is just tired
She
and
doesn't want to hear what you got to say
right,
about
and
going
she
back
is just
before.
like, "I can't wait till this kid is not in a stroller and I don't have to put the stroller in the car and put the kid in the stroller,"
Oh
because like, you
man.
just know she is tired, but you're
Yeah.
like, "I'm jealous of you." Like, "I
Hmm.
know you're tired, but I'm jealous of you." That's where
Because
I'm at in
those days do go by fast. That's the thing. You and when you're in it, it's like, oh, but and then it's over, and you're like, wait, I was just getting used to this. Like I was just getting my energy to handle this every day, and then it's
life.
like, oh no, they're my daughter just turned 10
Oh my
last
gosh.
week, and I'm like double digits. Ah,
Mm.
but
Well, and if you're really lucky, she's just like you, and that's a curse and a blessing, right? You're like,
I want it. Listen, I know I can be difficult. I know I have my things, but I want her to be like that because I feel like my personality and my way of being saved me a lot,
mm,
and I want that for her because I feel like I was perceptive of how other people went through things and didn't follow suit. It was easy enough for them to experience and have the repercussions, and for me to go, not for me. Eh,
mm.
I'm good. I want that. I want her to have that. And it's that thing of how do I instill this?
Are you guys
We
alike? Do you have similar personalities?
have similar personalities for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
I
But
feel like
I'm very fortunate because she doesn't have some of the chaos that I grew up in. So it's also like, have I seen that tested? Not necessarily. Do I want to see it tested?
yeah,
No,
no, of
you
course
know,
not.
of
Yeah.
course not. But I do see the resilience in her. But I'm also like a total uh, zodiac person, and I'm a Sagittarius, and she's an Aries, and we're both fire signs. So there's a lot of that passion intensity, but she handles certain things differently than I. And I'm like, "Ooh, okay."
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
just watching and learning. I'm learning her just as much as she's learning me. But
My daughter's an old soul. She is opposite of me. So picture her, everyone just maybe the opposite. Although Jack says that's not true because she'll do things that because he's like, you always say she's so opposite of you. He's like, but she's so dramatic, just like you are. But
oh,
she's
oh, no.
So I think that that's probably true, but very opposite in like speed. Like I'm a very fast, I talk fast, I move fast, I'm very fast, and she is a sloth. Her soul spirit animal is a sloth. And she literally is like, "Mom, this is as fast as I can move."
I'm
And I'm
sorry.
like,
I
"I
have
don't
the same
understand."
thing. I've never actually like. It's
Sloth.
true. Yes.
Sloth. And like, and she embraces it. She's like, yeah. She's like, "You are just trying to," she's like this, and I will be like, "Em,
So
can you
chill.
move it?" And she's literally
Yeah.
like, "No, this is as fast as I can go. You know this about me."
My daughter doesn't speak up to me back to defend herself much, but and I'm just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. She's like, okay. But it's like, and I've
Mm.
learned to kind of like give into it a little bit where I'm like, all right, she's
Oh my gosh, she's late for everything, and I'm like one of those, if you are not 10 minutes early, you are 15 minutes late. That is who I am, right? And my daughter is like, "Late is better than never." Like, literally, she said she was late so much in high school. So, I don't know if we've ever talked about this. She was so late in high school that they were literally sending me letters on a regular basis that she was gonna fail, she wasn't gonna get credits, she wasn't gonna be able to
no.
graduate, blah, 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 blah. And at the time, it was we had changed our high school, so she was living up at my mother's house to, go to school. So I wasn't even there a lot of times in the morning to be able to be like, "Get up," right? And so I actually called every day I would get a phone call on my phone, "So and so is missing from school, missing from school." I'm like,
Oh,
"Where
yeah.
is this kid?" So I actually called the school. I spoke with the school. I said, "Look, I am fine if you want to pull her into the office and say, you're not going to go to prom. You're not going to
Hmm.
be able to walk at graduation.
Hmm.
You're not going to be able to do these things that you
Hmm.
want to do because you can't get yourself to school. So put some fear into her so that
Mm.
up at school." Do you know the school told me no? They would not
I'm
do
sure they
that,
did.
and
They
I was
don't want
like,
that
"What
responsibility.
do you mean?" I was like, "Tell her she cannot go to the prom." And they're like, "No, we
20
can't
and
do
30
that."
years ago, they would have done it.
Right?
Not
And I
anymore.
said to them, "You know what? If you're not willing to give her any consequences, then leave me the hell alone. Stop
Right, don't call me.
texting me. Stop calling me. Stop telling me that she has too many things and I'm gonna have to go in front of the school board. Like, if you're not gonna give her any repercussions, what do I care?" Right? So my daughter actually said to me, and I thought she was gonna do it. She didn't. She said she was gonna take all of her late slips, and decorate her graduation cap with that. That was what it was gonna be, her graduation. And I was like, I am such a type A student who was like,
Yeah.
president of everything. I'm like, "Where did this child come from?" Like, literally, these are not my genetics. She didn't.
Yeah.
She did not do that, but I really thought she had like a stack of late switch. It was like
Oh
she
my
was like,
god.
"Well, I get there when I get there." I mean, this is literally how she goes through life. And it pisses me off because it all works out for her. And she says that. She's like, "Mom, you get so stressed." She goes, "It all works out for me." And it friggin' does, because that's what she manifests. Literally, I'm like, should I be really proud of this? Should I be proud of the fact that this is what she's manifesting? Because she really does manifest that. She's like, "Everything works out for me." And it friggin' does. It pisses me off.
Everything works out for me. Good for her, though. I love
Pisses
that.
me off.
I know.
It pisses me off. I'm like, "Kid." And she's like, "It all works out. It's all good.
Oh,
Mom,
man.
gotta relax." And then she'll send me, like, she'll be like, or like I'll send her something and she'll be like, "You need to stand on the dark side of the internet, Mom." She's like, I'll be like, "This could really happen to you." And she's like,
Yeah.
"No, Mom. No. Dark side."
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's
I
amazing.
don't know if I believe in previous lives, or, there's series that you come back and you're with the
Yeah.
same people all the time and everything. But if there is, she was my mother in another life. There have
Oh,
been
yeah.
moments when I have been next to her and I've been like, "Why do I feel like I hope she never listens to this episode. Why do I feel like I'm the child and she's the mother?" I've literally had many moments where I have felt
Ooh.
that way. Where I'm like,
Mm.
and not in a weird, like, she's controlling the situation, in
No,
a
but
weird,
it's
like,
just
her soul is older
yeah,
than mine.
that's hilarious.
Right? Yeah,
Oh my
it's
goodness.
very, very weird. And then my newest thing with her is, because now that I'm getting in this weird, premenopause phase, and there are hairs growing in my face that should not be growing. And I've said to her,
No.
I'm like, "Let me just tell you, the one thing you have to promise me, is you will not let me be the little old lady with the big white hair sticking out of my chin."
Oh,
I'm like,
mm-mm.
"Please, you just whatever, you need to make sure you take care of that for me." Like, that is all. You have to pluck my face,
Get
because
it
that is
done.
my fear. Yeah.
God, I used to do that for my grandma.
Did you?
Yeah. She
Oh
was
my
like
gosh.
my very, very elderly. She was my great grandmother, not even my grandmother, but she lived with us and she raised me and my sister when my parents worked. And she got to the point she'd be like in Spanish, help me.
Yeah.
And
Like, "Dude, you better
I
get
was
going."
just like, okay, abuela, okay,
Oh
no
my god, that
problem.
would gross me out. I could not do that for somebody else because I have a like, I would be barfing, but she better do that for me.
Oh no, I'll go to town now. She totally broke me in. I'm like, you gotta,
No.
I'll get it.
Oh my god, no. I'd be barfing my brains out, but my kids better make sure I don't have a hair on my chin. That's
I
gonna be
did
a
her
no.
makeup. I did her hair. I plucked her hairs. I did all the things. She was
Aw.
so cute.
Yeah,
She was so
I was talking
cute.
to my cousin about that. I wish my grandma lived to be 100. I wish she was still alive. She had been a single
Oh,
mom back in the 40s, which was, like,
oh,
very unheard of, right?
yeah.
And, she literally permed her hair until she was, like, 96 years old, and I remember her calling me. We were talking one day, and she's like, "You know,
Um,
Tara, I decided I'm gonna stop perming my hair." She's like, "It's just
96.
getting a lot to go every month to get my hair done." I was like, "Grandma, you're 96 years old. I think, like, it's fine." Right? And she and my cousin had a deal that my cousin would not drink and drive if my grandma would not drink and walk. That was
LOL.
their deal. She had, like, a highball every night. Like, she was, like, 100 years old, getting up in the morning, putting her makeup on, putting her lipstick on. She was
Good
so
for
funny.
her.
My last video I have of her was her and Emily. We had just moved back from Colorado. Emily was, like, in kindergarten, and they were sitting at the dining room table. We were gonna eat dinner, and my aunt had put a plate of cookies on the table for dessert. And my in the video, my grandma's pulling the cookies next to them, and she was like, "We eat dessert first." And I was like, "This is
Oh,
how this would live to be 100." Right?
yeah. Good look at that. Yeah,
She Yep.
I just got back from Puerto Rico and visiting my grandfather who just turned 90 and he's
Oh!
so independent, still driving himself places.
Oh my
And,
god.
and like cooked for us and this was by the way taking my daughter to experience Puerto Rico for the first
Oh.
time for her
Oh
10th
my
birthday. So
gosh.
it was a whole experience. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Oh my gosh, you must
And
have loved it.
yeah, and spending time with her great grandfather, and he was. Psh, I've
Oh my
never
gosh.
seen a person light up like Christmas. His face was Christmas
Yeah.
every day. It was
With
wonderful.
grandkids are good, but great-grandkids, that's a whole other level, right? Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
and his
Oh, that's
mother
so
lived to be
special.
106. So yes, yes, mm-hmm. Those genes, those genes. My
Holy
grandmother had
moly.
just passed away. This is my mom's mom. Last winter, so I was going a lot because we were helping with that, and it's hard to see him alone. But boy, does he love company! It's just so,
Wow, yeah.
and he's like just ripping and running, going into the casino because in Puerto Rico really fun casinos to go to, and he
Oh
goes
my god.
he goes and takes himself or he still has brothers and sisters around too,
Okay.
so he has, family, lots of cousins,
So I think that makes a difference.
I think so too.
Yeah, that was one of the things I remember my grandmother saying when she was 100. She said that all the people that she knew and loved outside of, like, her kids and her grandchildren, but, like, her people that they had all died. Like, they
Ugh,
were all gone. It was just basically, like, her. So, yes, she had her children and she had her grandchildren, but, none of them lived super close. Like, we would come and visit and stuff, but none of the grandchildren lived close. And, I just remember thinking that that's gotta be the weirdest thing of all the people that I grew up with, all the people that I live my life with now, and all of those people are gone,
yeah,
and now it's like, yes, it's my daughter's family and my daughter's kids, but how weird that must be. It's like the life that I lived is gone, so with
right,
his if as long as he has, family and brothers and sisters, I'm sure that makes a huge, huge
yeah,
difference.
yeah, and it's like now I'm like I want to go back all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my
Right?
gosh.
Like just him cooking for us was impressive. I was like, oh my god,
That's
look at
probably
him go.
delicious.
Oh
It's
yeah.
probably
And
amazing
that's the
food,
other
yeah.
thing too about being in Puerto Rico. It was just a whole experience. It's like that thing where like, how much does it cost to get some land down here?
Yeah.
But everything grows out there so easily. It's like they've lived in homes before where they have more land, grew more things, and in this house because it's so close to the main downtown of San Juan. Um, he has just a little plot of land in the backyard. Everything is kind of cemented over. They don't really have land. And even in that little plot, he's growing like 8 different things. just and they live off the land out there, and I love that
Wow.
so much.
Oh my gosh.
And
All
when we
right. Well, this is like our tourist plug. Go take a trip to Puerto Rico, everybody. Oh
it's
my
required.
gosh. Yeah.
Hit me
And
up if you need to know the secret spots to go to.
oh my gosh, I would love that. I have a friend who actually moved to Puerto Rico. Like yeah, like kind of
But
denounced his citizenship.
oh,
And so like not I mean, he's
you
still a
can do that.
citizen, but it's like
Yep,
he can't vote now, I guess that's the
yep,
difference. It doesn't have to pay,
yep.
yeah. And now lives in Puerto
That's a
Rico.
thing. And you get
Yeah.
a Puerto Rican passport and
Yeah.
everything. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Wow.
I've had so much fun talking to you. I have no idea what we talked about last time. I know we talked about our
Me
daughters a
neither.
little bit, but I don't remember what it was. But I appreciate you dealing with my hot mess that I could not find.
Oh
And what
no,
was really weird is I said to Lainie, I remember downloading it and I literally cannot find it. So maybe one day it'll appear and you'll have 2 episodes with Lainie.
that would be
Um,
hilarious.
or maybe just the one. I
I
don't
do
know.
remember this one thing. You asked me what my Enneagram,
Yeah.
and I finally retook the test, and I'm a
Oh,
two.
you did? You're a 2. Okay, I have to do a whole episode on Enneagram. This is so revealing. I would not have said that. And I will say the Enneagram to me of all the personality tests that I've done, and I've taken all of them and teach on some of them, this one is the one that to me was life insightful. There's 2 that really made a big difference for me, and this was one of them. But my sister-in-law is a 2. So you're the helper.
I'm the helper.
You're the helper and you give
Wild.
more to everybody else and then sacrifice yourself. Mm. Yeah. You burn out because you're so my sister-in-law, I'll give you an example. When she first got married, we were going down to North Carolina to see my aunt who was a New
Mm,
Yorker who moved to North Carolina. And
that's a
so we were
thing.
leaving at like 6 in the morning and she shows up at the house with like Italian breads and black and white cookies and like all the Italian food to take down to my aunt. And we were all like, is this chick for real? Like she's already married. She doesn't need to like show off anymore. Like they
That's
got
just
married
how
a
she
few months
is. Yeah.
ago. Why is she here at 6 in the morning with this stuff? Like, what kind of like, what's the angle here? And then she took the Enneagram test and I was like, oh, that's just you. That's
It's
just
just,
you.
I think it's this thing where it's like, man, if it were me, I would love this. I want to give that
Yeah.
experience to them.
Yeah.
100%. I am that person.
Ah,
Hence, gift shop,
okay.
I guess.
Okay.
Also.
Yeah, actually, that's true. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Uh,
But the giver, the helper, the always there supporting other people and their goals, their dreams to their own detriment. But oh, interesting. I
ah,
love the Enneagram. Guys, if you do not know your Enneagram, you can literally just Google, take a free Enneagram test. And the best way to really learn about it, there is a book. But the easiest way really to learn about it is start searching Instagram, find
100%.
people who are
100%.
Enneagram coaches, and then
Yeah.
look for like everything that's about a 2. And you'll be like, how do they know all my secrets
Yeah.
in my soul?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
I
God,
can't
that's why I'll
remember what the other thing was. There was like another one that was like right behind it where it was like, you're this with the
your
cusp
way.
of that or
Okay.
something, but I
Oh,
gotta
I
find
have
it. Who
everybody
knows?
take it. I just actually had Jack's daughter take it.
Nice.
And I was like, "Oh, this totally makes sense now about stuff." And she was like, "Oh, this doesn't make so much sense." I had him take it. I was like, "This is how I understand why you are the way you are." Right? Like,
Hilarious.
yeah. I had
Oh,
my
that's a
daughter
great
take it.
idea. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Significant other time.
I had him
Oh,
take it. I
Tampa.
had my daughter take it. I had my brother take it, my sister-in-law, because it really it helps you understand when we're like, "Oh my god, what is wrong with that person?" Because we always think that the way that we are is the right way, right?
Yeah,
That then you're like, "Oh, it's because they're a 2, and this is actually there's nothing wrong with them because all 2s are like that," right?
that's funny.
So I think it helps you be more understanding of people and also um, acknowledging that like and what we think is the way is only
Mhm,
our way,
mhm.
right?
It's a good
And
empathy
so
tool for
yeah,
sure.
it really helps you understand, like, other people are wired so incredibly differently than we are, but it also helps you, I think, understand yourself and why the things at least for me, the things that we don't like about ourselves, that
Ha!
we're like, "Oh my gosh, these are the things that I beat myself up on," and then you're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, all 3s beat yourselves up on that. That's not just me beating myself up. We're all equally beating ourselves up on that." So you also feel comfort in your pain. Yeah.
I was like, I
Um
can't forget to tell her.
Oh, I'm so glad that that's so awesome. Now I'm gonna be sending you all stuff on shoes.
Please
You like that. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I have friends who teach the Enneagram. I should have send them on for a podcast. That would be
OMG,
fun.
that's cool.
Fun conversation. But thank you so much for hanging out. Finish your
Oh, thank you.
mojito. Go have a
Yeah.
great night. I know you told everybody in your house they had to be quiet, so they can go make noise now.
They're as loud as
Um,
I am, but I can't sometimes I can't
yeah.
win.
But no, I appreciate you. And guys, Lainey does have a gift for you. So if you go into the show notes, there is a gift there. There'll be a link there for her store, and some extra goodies for you. So support local business. If you don't live here, it's still a small business. It's You're like, well, she's not local to me. It's okay. It's still a woman small business that you're supporting that is not a big corporation. Go shop, buy some gifts. I've got some great stuff from her store. She's got a lot of fun gifts, things you can gift yourself too, just so you know.
I'll make you
Um,
feel like I'm local.
She does. And she's got some extra stuff just for our listeners. So check out all the show notes. They'll be listed below. If you loved our episode, subscribe. That helps out. You'll never miss one. You'll get to hear from another interesting person. We will have another completely irrelevant conversation, but also help a girl out. Leave a review. I was saying I had no idea it was going to be this difficult to get people to review. So please
Oh,
leave
yeah.
a review for us. That would be super helpful if you made it this far into the episode. And if you have
I'm a review reader. Leave reviews.
yeah, leave a review. And
Always.
if you have an irrelevant question that you would love added to our wheel, send that over to me. You can find me on taragonline.com under the contact. Just go ahead, send in your irrelevant questions, leave them in the notes, and we will get them added to our wheel. And maybe your question will get chosen next time. But thank you so much for being here. Have a great night. Bye,
Good
Lainey.
night. Thank you.